So business analysis is a kind of profile which is majorly incorporated to any of the domain. Either it may be healthcare, or it may be investment banking, it may be payments domain, it may be retail domain, and so on. So there are a lot of domains are available. Among all the domains, healthcare is one of the domain which is growing faster, especially in US, Canada, everywhere, right? Because health insurance importance as well as the requirements relating to health insurance has increased phenomenally in the last couple of years across world. So requirements, especially opportunities in reference to the health insurance, have grown to the next level. Equally, as a role of a business analyst, it's not only about no.
You are breaking up, Raj.
So
Your sound is unclear.
am I clear now? How about now?
Sometime, yeah.
If you found any difficulty, please let me know.
Sure, thank you.
Clear now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So business analyst role is essentially important in any of the domain nowadays. It is not something only relating to healthcare, all that, but healthcare importance have grown to the next level phenomenally. So whatever you have learned so far about BA, business analysts, what BA do, how they do, and what is that they do. Now you are incorporating that information into healthcare, right? So because if you are a business analyst working on healthcare domain, apart from the one which you have learned, because everywhere understanding the requirements were the same, everywhere identifying the stakeholders or performing a JAT session. So all these were one same, right? So you don't see any difference in that, whether you follow the traditional model or agile model. So whatever we have discussed so far was same, so that you don't see any difference in it. But the major difference, what is that you see, is about knowledge about the healthcare, followed by the kind of terminologies and the jargons, what is that we use here. That is needed. But there is some slight variation in terms of the responsibilities of a business analyst, which is varying from domain to domain. So that is essentially important, and one must be learning. So you need to learn it. So these are the responsibilities of a business analyst, especially in reference to the role of a BA, as you know. So whatever the points I was mentioning in the beginning, so those are the common points for any of the domain, right? So identification of business objectives, collecting requirements, preparing documentation, right? So preparing functional, non-functional. So these are the stakeholder analysis. So these are the responsibilities being a BA, which is common for everyone, right? So either it is nothing to do with healthcare BA or it is nothing to do with retail domain or something. So those are the common things. The major difference you see from regular business analyst to healthcare BA is the last two topics. Whatever the last two points we have, let me highlight it. 1 minute. right? So the last two topics, what are the two topics we have? So these are the two topics which are important for you if you want to become a business analyst in the healthcare domain. The first one is that you must be having an understanding about various health insurance plans followed by the services it provides. So that sort of understanding you need to have. So here in this health insurance plans, we will be discussing about various health insurance plans, something like Medicare, Medicaid, all that. Because Medicare is the one will be provided by the federal government. Whereas Medicaid is a plan which will be provided by the state governments, of course. Again, in Medicare, we have different plans, all that. So being a business analyst, when you want to work on healthcare domain, apart from the regular BA activities and all, knowledge on the health insurance plans followed by the services must be knowing to you. At the same time, you must have an understanding about the claim processing followed by the claim adjudication, claim management system. So that sort of understanding is also essentially required. Because how claims happen? Because when a patient has joined in an hospital for the treatment, unless until if there is no valid insurance, so that it will not be eligible. So once the treatment is done, whatever the necessary treatment was given, followed by the cost. So those details will be sent by a healthcare provider to an insurance company in order to get claims from the insurance organization. So this is the structure. So this is the structure which normally we follow. So that structure has different variants in it. Like you'll be having different codes in performing it, because earlier, whatever the transaction happens between healthcare provider to an insurance company used to happen in an email format. I'm talking about in the beginning days. Later, it was changed to an extent where whatever the transactions they are doing, everything is in encrypted format. Encrypted format means there will be some code numbers, something like 835, 834, all that. So based on the code numbers, this process will take place, because in order to protect the health information of the individuals, as it is falls under the HIPAA law. HIPAA stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, of course, that I'm going to discuss in coming days. So as we are using HIPAA law and rules and regulations, there will be some ICD codes will be there. Using those codes and all everything, this whatever the claim processing, claim adjudication. So that understanding, being a business analyst, you need to have. So this is the major difference. Being a BA, you need to be good with if you want to become a business analyst in healthcare domain. So at the same time, jargons, terminologies should also be known to you well in advance. So these are the responsibilities being a business analyst one must be good with. We need to identify the business objectives, collecting the requirements, and what are the requirements we have collected. As I mentioned and stated earlier, part of requirement lifecycle management. So you need to trace out the requirements, maintain the requirements, prioritize it, right? So all these were needed. Next, preparing functional and non-functional requirements for any of the application is also equally important. Next, stakeholder analysis, how you are analyzing your stakeholders and how you are managing your stakeholders is essentially required. Because for stakeholder analysis, because stakeholder identification we do using power and interest grid. So followed by this RACI matrix, all that. So what are the points I was mentioned in the beginning? So those are common for every domain, right? It's not nothing to do with any specific domain. Even in healthcare also, we do the same thing. For example, a healthcare, for example, an insurance company, right? So how you could ask me one thing, Raj, in what way these requirements, collection and all everything we do for healthcare, because it is all something relating to claims management, claim adjudication, all that. So what is the way of and how usually these requirements were connecting to this, right? So this may be the general question anybody can ask. I'll tell you the reason. For example, if you're working for an health insurance organization, not in the healthcare provider. Healthcare provider means hospitals, clinics, all that. Let us think from a what we call from an insurance organization perspective. Health insurance organizations, what they do, they have different health insurance plans. You know it. So maybe some plans relating to the complete health. Some plans maybe nowadays they were introducing the plans for even um, for different things, even for COVID, right? For COVID recently, right? So due to COVID conditions and all that, so there is a plan which was introduced nowadays for COVID. At the same time, there are different plans, customization of plans and all everything will be introduced by the insurance organizations. It is a continuous process because end of the day, providing health insurance and making people to pay premium in a yearly basis, end of the day, it is an enterprise. It's a business. So there is a competition where they want to sell their product. Usually in insurance, we should not say it is selling product. It's a fundamental rule. We don't use a word called selling product. Because in insurance, there is a concept. We don't sell products usually. Of course, for a better understanding, I'm using this word, but usually in insurance domain, when we teach or when we learn, we fundamental is that they say that we are not selling products. We are insuring people, right? So an insurer is coming to the insurance organization and is requesting us to insure him, right, for his health or something. It's not only health, right? Even maybe in vehicle insurance, it may be
We can't hear you well, though.
maybe in marine
We can't hear
because
you well.
Your voice is cutting off. I think maybe a poor connection or something like that.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. If you find any difficult again, please let me know. So I'll connect from the mobile data. Now I'm using Wi-Fi every day. Of course, there may be some difficulty in it. Still, if any problem persists, let me know so that I will connect from my mobile data. Okay. Fine. So, yeah, coming back to the point, right? So, in insurance, there is a concept. The concept in insurance is that we don't sell products. So, a person will come and he'll request us to insure, right? Either him, it may be their health, or it may be their vehicle, or it may be their life, or it may be their products or goods like marine insurance, all that, right? So marine insurance, all these comes under P&C. We call it as property and casualty insurance, right? So in insurance, there is a concept that they don't sell the products. So they will insure people upon the request. This is the fundamental. But still, to have a clear and simple understanding, I'm using the word called selling of products, right? So an insurance organization, if you see any insurance company, they have different products in reference to the healthcare I'm talking about. Of course, apart from health insurance, there are other insurances even, as I mentioned you. So they have different products even in that, right? So let us not get into that. Let us confine ourselves into an health insurance. So there are different plans. Now, usually there are a lot of insurance organizations will be there where few products are successful in one insurance organization, one insurance company, few products were successful in others. But as industry is evolving from one level to another level, end of the day, it is an enterprise, end of the day, it is a business wherein they wants to grow to the next level. Hence, they wants to come up with different health insurance plans into the market in order to draw the attention of the customer. So they have to introduce new insurance plans into the market, right? End of the day, it's an enterprise, you know it. Now, how they introduce the products, there must be a research which must be done. That's what we call it as market research. Market research has to be done. So based on the market research, they come to know what is their reach, all that. Based on the market research, so they come to know what kind of products were really required in the industry. So which insurance plans, new insurance plans I'm talking about. So we need to introduce all these things has to be taken care of by an insurance organizations. On this context, there are underwriters. You might have heard about this word, and some people might be knowing here. Underwriters is a concept. Underwriters are the people who evaluate the kind of risk which is involved in it. So they prepare a plan, right? So underwriters will evaluate the assessing possibility of risk, all that. For example, when we are applying for a loan, on what basis loan will be given? Loan will be given on the basis of the income what that individual having. Not only income, but most of the people we see that if we have an income, we get a loan, right? So, but not the case. They see the payment history, right? So, payment track record. So, how he has paid or how he or she has paid his loans all that on time. So, they see the credit history followed by the income. Based on that, loans will be provided. So, there must be someone who has to authenticate and authorize. So all these services will be comes under underwriters, all that stuff. So apart from the underwriting services, there must be someone who has to gather the requirements from the outside. Means from the industry or from the market, someone has to gather the requirements like the how the product should be built and how the product requirements and features must looks like. in order to draw the attention of the customers, what features we have to elevate. Everything has to be done by someone. That role will be played by one of the role will be played by a business analyst. Is that apart from knowing about health insurance plans, apart from health claim adjudication, claim management, those are the things which, being a business analyst, one must be good with, right? So this is how generally the functional requirements and non-functional requirements, why I have mentioned, because of this reason, right? So there will be some new products for coming. Again, understanding and providing solutions means like identifying the features. So that's also a responsibility of a BA. Of course, it may not be a technical functionality, but it's a business functionality, right? So those will be taken care of by the business analyst. So that's how a BA will be used. So business analyst role remains constant and same. You don't see any difference. End of the day, providing solutions by understanding the difficulties of the user is required. So that itself, the fundamental concepts remains constant and same for any industry. It need not be in healthcare. It could be any other industry as well. Health industry is add-on, right? So healthcare knowledge about the topics and all everything is something which you need to add yourself in your repository, right? So this is the whole concept about the responsibilities of a BA in reference to the healthcare industry, right? Healthcare sector, right? So this is the thing. Now I am explaining about the recent. It's not recent. What are the major healthcare registrations happened over a period of time is what I may be explaining. Of course, this is all for your overall awareness, right? So there are like social security amendments happens in the year of 1965. The major ones I'm saying. So next, HMO stands for Health Maintenance Organization Act, which was introduced in 1973. Next, HIPAA, that's what it was introduced in 96. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So this act tells that providing security for health information of an individual is the highest importance, because no health information of an individual has to be given outside, which is an offense usually, right? So no, not someone by individual. If that person is providing health information, that is a different thing, but no one or authorized any health organizations or insurance companies should not provide health information of an individual to be given outside, which is against to the rule. In order to protect that health information of the individuals and all that, so there is a law which was introduced called HIPAA, HIPAA, which stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So which was introduced in the year of 1996. At the same time, there is an act which was introduced at the time of Obamacare, we used to call it as. So that's what we call it as PPAC Act, right? So like Patient Protection and Affordability Care Act of 2010, which was introduced in the year of 2010, which is also called as Obamacare. After that, it was renamed into different ways. But so these are the major legislations. Of course, there are few more legislations which were happening nowadays in the recent healthcare this thing. Okay, that's a continuous thing. So it is a continuous process, right? So let us not getting into that. Now, what is that you need to see is about how an healthcare system works and what usually the healthcare industry majorly focuses on, right? So this is what generally the healthcare system works, where you must be learning about the kind of terminologies, what is that they uses, what are the different terminologies that you need to use, especially a patient has visited a hospital for a treatment or for diagnosis something. So there must be having a valid insurance. Provided treatment will be provided to the patient. Against to that, whatever the expenses incurred for the treatment, that will be reimbursed from by the insurance organizations. So it's not cash and carry kind of stuff, right? Right, because that won't be there, especially in US, especially because 100% they'll have health, right? So I need not explain more in detail on that. You know it well. Everybody will have a valid health insurance. Some insurances are sponsored by the governments like Medicare, all that. And there will be few insurances which will be bought by an individual out of their interest from private insurance companies. Because some organizations have both. So they'll have a public government insurance, followed by this, they'll have private insurance even. But they need to pay insurance premium for that in regular intervals. That is what they have to do. This is what and how in US healthcare system is all about. So this is a high level explanation which I am giving you here. Now there are few terminologies which you must be learning. So those terminologies majorly focuses on the codes. That's what you need to learn more. So there are some procedures which in health insurance which will be provided. Different procedures they follow for different treatments I'm talking about. So for everything there are code numbers, because as I mentioned you, whatever the information we do, whatever the information will be, everything based on the codes, encrypted format. So using those codes, whatever the transactions happens, everything will be used using those code numbers only. So that procedure codes, because if there is a procedure, medical procedure performing by an healthcare organization, there are different procedures they follow for everything, right? So it may vary from the kind of treatment to treatment, it may vary. So for every procedure there is a code. So code numbers are the one which you being a BA you need to learn in healthcare BA. Procedure codes, of course there are hundreds of codes will be available if you combine all that, but all these were not required. So major ones I'm talking about. If that was the case, it may go up to 100 plus, but remembering all those not needed, I say. I don't say you may remember, but it's not needed. So the major codes must be known, or major codes, and for what reason this code is being used and all, so that you need to know. So for procedures I'm talking about. Even your revenue codes will also be the same. Even for diagnosis, there are codes are available. So there are different code numbers which usually happens in a form of ICDs, all that. So that code numbers and all everything that you will be learning in the course of it. Whatever the prominent ones I'm talking about, not everyone. What are the regular ones we use, all that. So code numbers, as I mentioned, 835, 834, all that. At the same time, we will be learning about what are the different plans are there under Medicare and Medicaid. As you know, on a high level note, Medicare is the one plan which will be sponsored by the federal government. Of course, we need to pay premium for that on every regular day-to-day basis. Once the certain age was completed for that individual, the total health related things will be taken care of by the federal government. Usually, that's the concept of Medicare. Whereas when it comes to Medicaid, it's been sponsored and organized and managed by the state governments. So that is majorly for low income group people or for disabled children, disabled people, for disabled people and for low income group people. That is being used for Medicaid, I'm talking about. But whatever the rules and regulations, if there is any changes applicable, that varying from state to state, because across 50 states, there is a variation, right? So based upon their laws, their rules and regulations and all, there will be some slight variation in terms of the services, what is that they offer, which will be there in terms of the Medicaid I'm talking about. But Medicare, there is a standard thing. But again, in Medicare, of course, we have different plans like A, B, C, D. So A provides some services, B provides some, C will provide some more, D will provide some more, right? So that's also, so terminologies, learning about the terminologies, especially in healthcare, is one of the thing which, being a business analyst, you need to know, so that it is more advantageous. As like as the terminologies you are learning in IT. For example, if you are working as a business analyst in IT environment, or else as a business analyst you are working on healthcare, retail, for example, because the example what is that we have taken in the previous classes like healthcare, right? So sorry, retail. In this retail, we have discussed about POS, all that, right? Point of sale system, all. Assume that if you don't know about what is POS, what is inventory, what will happen? It is difficult for you, being a BA, to understand, right? Or not? So when there is an industry we are working, either it may be an IT sector, or it may be in retail, or it may be in healthcare. Knowing about the terminologies and jargons of those were essentially required, so that it is easy for you to penetrate, it is easy for you to understand their needs, their requirements, all that stuff. So that terminologies are there, especially in healthcare, which you'll be learning over a period of time, right? So this is the second thing which, being a BA, you need to be focused more of. The next point is that when we talk about US medical system on a whole, this US medical system majorly depends on two different things. I can say three stages are there, especially in US healthcare system. So this US healthcare system, especially in US, will be managed by the federal government, which will be protected by a HIPAA law, as I told you, right? Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA law, which will be protected by the HIPAA law here. But there is an authority, there is a government authority called CMS, right? CMS is the major authority which will look after the entire healthcare system of US. That's what we call it as Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. In short, we call it as CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. This is a government authority which falls under the healthcare department called HHS, Health and Human Services. Like it's a government department, right? It's a government department, like any other departments. You have HHS, right? So healthcare ministry, right? Or else whatever it is, right? So HHS, Health and Human Services. Again, on that Health and Human Services, the CMS is the one which majorly focuses on entire the healthcare system, which will be looking after the Medicare, Medicaid services across all the states. Either whatever the services happens falls under Medicare or the Medicaid. All these will be authorized and managed by the CMS here. Right? So this is one is HHS is important. Under HHS, you will be having CMS department who will be looking after all that. But whatever the services we are managing here, everything is being protected under HIPAA. That's what the concept, right? So it's a protection of law about the medical records and as well as health information of the citizens. Because there are possibilities earlier. So why this law has been introduced? Because of multiple reasons. Earlier, if you see the claim processing, adjudication, all that, these claim processing and adjudications used to happen in a form of email system, right? Mailing system. Mailing system means like they used to send emails of the health information of individuals to the insurance organization. They used to receive in the beginning days, I'm talking about, not in the recent times. Of course, recent times, because it's not possible through send emails, all that, because there are hundreds and hundreds of claims happens every. So that's not a manual intervention, right? So there are different claim applications nowadays organization uses, something like Facets, QNext, different claim adjudication and management applications nowadays organizations are using, where whatever the systems and the processes and all everything will be managed by the applications itself. So for that application, again, requirements will be written by the BA. That's how, being a BA, you are connecting to this. I hope you understood this point, right? So there is an application called Facets, for example. Facets is an application to manage claim processing, adjudication, and all. Because claim processing, adjudication won't be happen in one or two number, right? Every day, hundreds and hundreds, sometimes more than that, right? Claims will be received by the healthcare providers and as well as healthcare units from the different places. So how is this happens to manage all this? There are systems required. So that systems means application, right? So Facets or QNext are two prominent applications uses in claim processing and adjudication. So as it is an application, that application requires some upgradation, right? As the point of sale system, what we have taken, right? So because point of sale system I have taken for billing, especially in the retail. The same thing applied even in healthcare. It is healthcare, there it is retail. That's only the difference. In healthcare, for claim processing and adjudication, there are applications. Again, as it is an application, as it is a technology, it requires upgradation, right? It's a generalized thing. Because, for example, nowadays, please mute yourself. There is a disturbance. Please mute yourself. There is a disturbance. Yeah, thank you. So there is a new challenges were coming. For example, if you see the recent last couple of years, we have faced with this COVID, which we never expected. It came 2 years across the world suffered. People were staying at the houses where they were not going outside. There are some unfortunate scenes happened even across the world. People suffered a lot, and they have spent a lot of money for the treatment. But unfortunately, the COVID one was not covered under the health insurance initially. Of course, after that depends on the different countries, depends on their uh, requirements and all. Of course, they have introduced, they have added that services into health insurance. That's a different story. So it depends on country to country. There depends on the government to government. They have changed it. That is a different thing anyway. So what is that I'm saying is there are some unforeseen situations which come across where they want to add some new service lines into the existing one. So as long as the services are increasing, as long as the services are changing from day to day or from time to time, the systems or the applications, whatever we are using in order to manage our business processes, should also change accordingly, right? So you cannot simply use the old systems, because if you take an example of POS, why we have used cloud POS? So why are we not using regular POS? Because regular POS has its own advantages, but why are we going for CPOS? Because maybe in future customer may be going for multiple stores. In order to manage that, in order to decentralize, centralize the data, so that CPOS system was introduced, right or not? The same way, whatever the claim processing and adjudication or the healthcare other applications, whatever, either it may be a hospital management system, right? Whatever it could be. So those applications requires an upgradation from time to time. Depends on the market conditions, depends on the market needs, depends on the market demands. There are a lot of changes which normally happens, requires. That must be authorized by someone. Someone has to authorize it. So that authorization will be taken care of by the business analyst. So this is where BA role is so important, not only on the healthcare products, as I mentioned in the beginning. So why being a business analyst and what BA do, especially in reference to this healthcare, is this majorly I'm talking about. Understanding about the system, applications, what are the new things to be added onto the regular intervals, depends on the industry, depends on the requirement. As an example, I have given COVID, right, which was never expected, happened, people suffered a lot. Of course, fortunately, now everything was getting settled down. But there are some changes must happen because we have to understand about the future needs as well. So there are, it's a kind of transformation, right? It's a kind of transformation, and regular upgradation in our systems and services must be done, which is a continuous process, right? So this is not a process which will be there for 1 day or 2 day. It is not for 1 year or 10 years, right? So it's a continuous process. As the process, as the services are continuing, you require some kind of, in order to provide quality services, we need to add different lines of activities which has to be introduced or which has to be included. So there must be someone who has to organize all that. There must be someone who has to understand and provide recommendations. That is where the importance of business analyst is more, especially across industries, not only healthcare I'm talking about, across any other domains. Why is it is prominent? Why business analyst is a never ending profile? Because of this reason. Because any business process, you say, right? So any business process or any service, whatever it is, it has to go, right? It has to go in a normal pace. As long as it is going, so you have to upgrade yourself and go, right? So because, for example, being a human, we are leading our lives, right? So there is a difference personally and professionally when you are comparing yourself in last 10 years, because it's a human this thing. Every 10 years, the human mindset, traits of the behavior, everything will be changed by the human. It is a common thing, irrespective of the other things. Like for any human, the transformation period will be there. Every 10 years, people will transform personally, professionally, behavior, right? So because I may be an aggressive behavior 10 years before, right? So as it grows, as experience grows, maybe now I may be settled, I may have my aggressive behavior might be changed. So maturity level. So the transformation for any individual happens. That anyway, being you also noticed individually. The same way systems also. So as the behavioral traits and all everything were changing every 10 years. As age grows, experience grows, responsibilities. So we also evolve, right? So the same thing, systems even. So there is no difference. Of course, it's a physical entity, it's not a physical one. That's only the difference. So the systems also requires some evaluation. System also requires to upgrade something into that their systems and all, processes and all, which is essentially common for any industry. But it cannot be done on its own, because if it's a human, we can do it for ourselves. But for systems, there must be someone who has to instruct and do that. That is what the role, being a BA, we are performing here. So this is why and how usually being a business analyst role is. So I'm explaining this in a context of a generalized perspective, not in a context of a healthcare. Okay, I hope you understood. Why? Because why business analyst role will be there forever in any of the industry because of this. Because every industry requires upgradation. Every industry has to survive and move on to the next level. They have to step into the next future. As long as they wants to step into the next future, obviously they have to transform themselves. If they wants to transform themselves, someone has to guide it, someone has to understand it, someone has to do that changes. For that, there are some set of people who will be taking care of all that. Is what the role of a business analyst is. Either it may be healthcare BA you're talking about, it may be in healthcare industry, or it may be a banking industry, or it may be a financial services, or it may be an oil and gas, travel, telecom, retail, e-commerce, any domain you see, role of business analyst remain constant and same. But when based upon the industry to industry, what are the terminologies, processes, systems, procedures that you have to inculcate? That's only the difference. Here in medical, you are learning about claim processing, claim adjudication. You are learning about the codes, HIPAA rules and regulations, Medicare. This you are learning. When you are going for banking, you will be learning about investment banking, initial public offers, mergers and acquisitions, trade life cycle, portfolio management. You are learning that. If you're going for retail, you're talking about inventory, you're talking about point of sale system, you're talking about something like visual merchandising, all that. When you're going for some other industry like e-commerce and all, you'll be talking about online services for the customers, e-commerce digital services, that are we talking about. So the standard role of BA remains same and constant, where you don't see any changes. But depends on the sector, what is that are we choosing, the domain. There will be some few add-ons will be added into the existing role of BA. So again, coming back to the point of medical system, this is what it is. So as there are applications we are using for claim processing and adjudication, as this is a system and application, depends on the decisions. Maybe it may be the government decisions even, or industry decisions, whatever it is. The systems has to be upgraded to the next level. There must be someone who has to understand it and who has to provide recommending solutions. Recommending solutions is essentially needed. That's what the role of a BA, especially in healthcare. I hope you guys have understood this introduction part. Is it clear to everyone? Any questions on this? Share real world project. See, yeah, in reference to the question asked by Ms. Nisha, while showing slides, is it possible to share the real world project? See, there is no real world project, Nisha. The point is, as I said, as I told you, of course, there are some case studies which I'll explain. Something like point of sale system, I will be explaining one case study. I have some case studies with me. Over a period of time, I'll explain it. Not a problem. So that I'll do it. That I will do. Right. So there are case study. Project means case study you're talking about. I understood. So there is a case study. I'll be explaining the same way as I told you in POS. The same way I'll have. So one case study, but it won't cover everything because healthcare domain I'm talking about. Right. So when we are talking about healthcare domain have a lot of things. Everything you don't work, right? You work only on the particular object. You don't work on the everything. So there is a case study relating to healthcare that I'll be explaining in coming days. Of course, today is the introductory session, so that I don't want to get into that. I will explain it later. Yes. What type of strategy is required for a healthcare BA? So there is no concept called strategies, Dilly. What is meant by strategy are you talking about? You're talking about the responsibilities of a BA. It's not strategies, right? So you are understanding these processes and you are recommending solutions. Strategies, there is no specific strategy, right? So there are systems where you are, your primary role is to understand the process of the claim processing, claim adjudication and all. If there is any changes and all that, so the recommending solutions is what you have to do. That's what it is. Yeah, see, Medicaid is the question asked by Pradeep Shrestha. Medicare or government by federal through CMS, does the state have any impact on them? So Medicaid, yes, because Medicaid services comes under the state. It's not been powered by, of course, funded by the federal government, but managing by the state governments, Medicaid. Medicare is completely a federal government entity. That's the difference. But everything falls under CMS. I didn't understand your question, Isha. Parallelly, as you are explaining, it will help us to be more clear. Yeah, that's the reason I'm giving this comparison for POS and healthcare so that you'll be understood. Okay. I have not started about claim insurance and all processes. There are days to come to explain that, Devi. I have not started it, right? So claim insurance processes are there. In coming days, I'll explain that. This is not the right time to say all that, right? So there are processes, steps and all that will be there. So that will explain when it comes. When time comes, I'll explain. Okay, not now. Agile we are following. This is the question asked by Mr. Mahajan. So yes, traditional or agile means agile we are following now. Of course, traditional also some organizations follow, but agile even we are following. Agile you can inquire. Agile, because agile way of approach. See, agile is a way of approach, as I told you, right? So agile we are following. Traditional is also there, so don't ignore traditional even, because we never know what kind of requirements we come across. So we cannot simply focus on the agile part all that. It's always better to know about the traditional. Fundamentals are more important. Please remember that. If you lose the fundamentals, then the whole the structure will get damaged. So agile, maybe today agile, right? So tomorrow it may one more thing come, right? So maybe day after tomorrow, maybe some other thing. But the fundamentals in traditional systems never go away. So as long as the fundamentals are strong, so we can expand ourselves, right? Today is good, agile is good. Maybe in future, some other things may come, right? So it's a complete evaluation happens. Works in a data entry, healthcare. No, data entry job we don't do, Sita. Data entry or medical coding, that we don't do. We don't come into that, falls under that category. So BAs, there is no responsible. See, it's if an IT application and all, you're responsible for a project manager. But here, a business analyst is an individual entity, especially in the domain perspective. Whereas, of course, you'll be having a hierarchical process, you may be having a management team where you are responsible there. That is that, right? So there is no responsibility, right? So it's an individual responsibility, BA. Being a BA, you have to look after all that. No, SQL and all, as I told you earlier in couple of times, SQL is nothing but structured query language, where if you want to extract the data from the database, SQL is being used. SQL mostly we use this in IT projects. When we are working on IT projects and all, for few profiles, not for every profile, SQL is required, but for healthcare, it doesn't. Yeah, EDI for the 834, 835, right? So the transaction, for what reason it is being used. So that I'll be explaining. It comes next. So of course, there are a lot of codes, as I told you, right? But we don't discuss everything because we don't require even, right? So there are some codes which you must be knowing, so that will be explained. Yes. Share PowerPoint slide. Yeah, these images I'll be sharing to you because these PowerPoint slides, I'll tell you the problem. So one, because there is no serial process here. Depends on the type of people and all everything. These slides will vary from me, from here to there to here. I'll do that because being a trainer, I know how to organize it. So I'll send you these images if you want. I'll send you this. I'll copy it in the Word document. I'll share it so that it is more useful to you. Yeah, that's what I have told you, right? So earlier it was started as an Obamacare. After that, it's Trump. Names will change, but systems and all everything will continue. That's only the thing. So transformation happens, right? So that's a continuous process. It's name after Obamacare when Obama is in the rule, is in the as in president at the time. After that, new presidents comes, maybe name, but systems will still intact, right? So maybe names may change. At the same time, there will be some other resolutions and changes may also be added. That is also there. So based upon the government policies decisions, they may be adding few more services. So it's a continuous process, right? So it is not this thing. So what limitations in existing act makes HIPAA rise? See, there is no concept called HIPAA rise, right? So HIPAA is a law which is protecting the health information. So that law says some rules. Whoever is managing the health information and all has to follow the rules. That's it. That's the thing. Now it is Biden care. Yeah. Yeah, of course. New president comes, like now it's a Biden care. Earlier it was Trump. Before that, someone. That's how it is. Yes. Next. Any questions? Is it clear? So as BA, our job is to make sure that system follows the HIPAA and SSC standards. Yeah, you have to ensure that. So that you need to know about those HIPAA, HIPAA. It's not HIPPA, HIPAA. Of course, I might have written somewhere wrong, even from my end. Even. Yeah, even the standards of SSAs and all everything will also be followed. So the standards and rules you need to learn so that it is more useful to you. So that is what you need to be focused more on. Okay. Next. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Good night. So we'll meet tomorrow and we discuss more further on this topic. So next week, hopefully by next weekend, I'll be closing the session. By next weekend, it will be covered. It will be closed. Hopefully. So everything goes as per the rule, as per the process. By next weekend, I'll be trying to cover it. Okay. Right, guys? So when is your exam? That you please ask Mr. Manik so that he'll be arranging all that to you. Thank you, everyone. So we'll meet again tomorrow. Bye. Thank you.